When people are making excuses, it's mostly because they didn't meet somebody's expectations or they didn't do their part, and they're just trying not to make it seem as bad and not feel as ashamed when the person who was expecting something and you didn't do it sees that you didn't do it. What do you think the worst excuse it is that somebody can make? You write it down below. I really want to know what y'all thought before I say it. But the worst excuse, in my opinion, is when somebody says, "Where's your blank? Why didn't you turn in blank? Why didn't you do blank?" And what she say? "I didn't have time. I had to do this, I had to do that. I was so busy, I didn't have time to do it." Like, saying you didn't have time to do something is just a lie. It's just straight up lie. Because everybody has the same 24 hours in a day to do the same thing. Some people accomplish more productive things, some people don't. Which one are you? Most of the time when people say that they didn't have time to do something, it's one of these reasons. Either you didn't feel like it, you didn't want to, you're lazy, or you're bad at time management. Some of these overlap, but when you put all those reasons I just gave together, it really goes to it wasn't your priority. So anytime you didn't do something, say it wasn't your priority. Which, yes, it sounds bad, but it's the truth. Because every day people do what they prioritize. So let's give some examples so you get what I'm saying. So for example, sleep. Some people, they prioritize getting 8 hours of sleep. Some people prioritize getting 4 or 6 hours of sleep. If sleeping is a priority for someone, when it gets to a certain time of day, they're gonna go ahead and go to sleep because they prioritize sleeping. And if somebody doesn't prioritize sleep, they'll have other things that they'll do, and sleep will be on the last thing they think about. People who prioritize eating a lot, if that's what they prioritize, they're gonna make sure they get that in. Same way with feeding your children. I hope you prioritize feeding your children every day and you don't forget that. One thing that's a good example that a lot of people use the excuse of "I don't have time" is when it comes to eating healthy. They have time to fry chicken, have time to eat pork, which you shouldn't be eating pork. They have time to wait in the drive-thru line. They have time for all that, but they say they don't have time to eat healthy. Like, you're going to the store buying groceries anyway. I mean, what's the difference between buying healthy food and unhealthy food? You still went to the store to buy some. What's the difference between frying chicken and making squash spaghetti? It's still the same. You're just making excuses to say you don't have time because you don't feel like doing it and you don't really prioritize eating healthy. Y'all get what I'm saying? So when it comes to your priorities, it's really about thinking. So if making excuses is a habit for you, then you need to examine yourself and find out, why are you making so many excuses? It could be that you're bad with time management. Your priorities aren't in check. You're just a straight up liar, you're lazy, or you're selfish. Now let's get into the selfish part just a teeny bit. So one thing that a lot of people struggle with when it comes to what I call being selfish is when it comes to time management and being on time going to places. In the Black community, there's a such thing as CPT time. So that's colored people time. And it's not a good thing at all. It's basically saying that whenever something starts, let's say for example an event starts at 2 o'clock. CPT time would be showing up at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. White people time would be, should be in there before 2 o'clock even starts. So they'll be there at 1:30, who knows. They'll be there on time. That's the important part. They'll be there on time. So like when it comes to doctor appointments, hair appointments, any of that stuff, people are on time. They show up either ahead of time or they're exactly on time. Like hair salons, they can give you a fee for showing up late. But like doctor appointments and stuff, people be on time for that stuff. They show up 30 minutes early. You know why they show up? Because it's a priority. It's a priority to them to get their hair done, their nails done, get their hair cut, to get their doctor appointment taken. all that stuff. They're on time for that. But you know what they aren't on time for? Whether you're supposed to be meeting somebody somewhere, you're showing up to Sabbath class, like anywhere else where somebody else having to wait on you, you're not there. You're not there. Any events, any of that stuff, you're not there. Then that's when people say, oh, I didn't have time. I was so busy. I was doing this. I was doing that. I was so busy. Were you really busy? Or maybe your priorities were in check and it wasn't a priority to be on time. And that's where it goes into the selfishness, because somebody's waiting on you to show up, or somebody's expecting you to be an example and show up somewhere. You're late. You might not even make it. You didn't choose to start getting ready until the last second. Instead of being somewhere at 2, you're leaving at 2, or you're leaving at 2:10, 2:20. When it comes to getting your priorities in check, if you have a lot of things that you need to do in a day, there's this good square little chart. What does it say? Urgent, not urgent, important, and not important. And so you would put it all into the different boxes, what tasks you have after you write out all your tasks. You're going to put them in each of those boxes. And that's how you're going to determine what things you do first, what things you do last. The stuff you're putting off, if your priorities aren't in check, you're putting off the stuff that's actually more important in the long run, or it's more dependent on you to do your part to get something done, compared to stuff that you're doing that's leisurely activities, but you enjoy doing those, so you do those first. Like, that's all out of order. It's out of whack. I saw this good post that was talking about procrastination that sticks very closely to laziness. I'm gonna post it here. I loved it. Let me give y'all a second to read it. It really opens your eyes up to how ungrateful you're being for the time you have here, and how if you're not prioritizing studying and meditating on the Bible, praying 3 times a day, like reading the Bible, keeping the commandments, repenting, like if you're not focusing on doing those things, you're really being selfish. Go back to the selfish. You're really being selfish, because he giving you time to repent and he's showing mercy on you. But you're not worried about that. That's not urgent to you, even though it really is urgent. And you're putting it off to do everything that's not really important and doesn't really matter in the long term. He's not going to want to hear your excuses that you didn't have time to do any of that stuff I just mentioned, because you just don't have your priorities in check. One scripture was talking about how lazy people, they just make any kind of excuse to not do stuff. And they were talking about how they say, like, oh, there's a lion out there, I couldn't go out there. And you know, that's the same way as if you saying it's raining, you can't go somewhere. Now, unless you can't see in the rain, but if you just didn't want to get out in the rain, or you didn't walk out in the heat, so that's why you didn't do something, and it wasn't actually a health condition, or you couldn't see in the dark or something. It's just people making excuses for anything. Oh, I hit my toe, I'm staying home today. Something wrong with you at that point. You have to check your own self, see what's going on, because excuses should not be something you commonly do. So I'm gonna leave you with that. And if you enjoyed this video, you'll definitely enjoy this one. Bye.